how do we really know if an AI is getting any smarter? Well, one of the main ways we do it is we have other AIs grade them. Yeah, kind of like having the top student in the class grade everyone else's papers. But what happens when that AI judge is, well, flawed? What if its grading is inconsistent or, even worse, just doesn't make any logical sense? Okay, let's get into it. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at why these AI judges stumble in the first place. Then we'll dig into two major glitches in the system. After that, we'll meet the new solution, a framework called TrustJudge. We'll break down how it works, see how it held up in testing, and finally talk about why having a better AI umpire is a much bigger deal than you might think. So let's just start with this big question right here. When an AI judge messes up, it's not just some small mistake. The entire feedback loop we use to improve AI, the whole process of learning and getting better, it all depends on that evaluation being solid. If the judge is unreliable, progress doesn't just slow down. It could go completely off the rails. The whole idea here is called LLM-as-a-Judge, and it makes sense, right? It's a super fast, scalable way to get feedback on AI responses without having to pay for slow, expensive human review every single time. Usually, the AI judge either gives a response a single score, like a 4 out of 5, or it pits two responses against each other and picks a winner. The problem is, this system has some pretty serious cracks in its foundation. Okay, and this is where it gets really fascinating. Researchers started digging into this, and they found two fundamental glitches that make these AI judges way more unreliable than you'd think. And we're not talking about weird edge cases here. These are deep, systemic issues with how we've been doing things. Let's break them down. So here are the two big problems, side by side. First, you've got score comparison inconsistency. This is a weird one. It's when a response gets a low score, but then when you put it in a head-to-head match against a higher-scored response, it actually wins. The other one is Pairwise Transitivity Inconsistency, which is just a fancy way of saying the judge's logic goes around in a completely nonsensical circle. Let me explain that first glitch with an analogy you'll totally get. Imagine Team B has a way better season record, a better score, than Team A. But for some weird reason, every time they actually play each other, Team A wins. You'd call that a sports surprise, right? The scores and the real-world results just don't line up. Well, that is exactly what's happening with these AI judges. Now, the second glitch is basically a logic puzzle that the AI completely fails. It creates this impossible loop. The judge says, okay, response A is better than B. And response B is better than C. So logically, A has to be better than C, right? Nope. The judge then says C is better than A. It's a complete violation of rational thinking. It's just like rock, paper, scissors, where there's no single best answer, and you just go in a circle forever. So you see, these are just minor bugs. They seriously undermine our trust in this whole automated evaluation system. And that's exactly why researchers said, okay, we need a whole new playbook. We need to build a smarter, more reliable judge. And they call it TrustJudge. Now, what's so clever about TrustJudge is that it doesn't even try to retrain the AI judge. Instead, it just changes the rules of the game. It overhauls the process of judging, using two really smart statistical approaches to bring back some sanity and consistency. The first big idea is called distribution-sensitive scoring. Instead of forcing the judge to spit out one single number, it actually captures the judge's nuance, its confidence, and its uncertainty across a range of possible scores. The second piece is likelihood-aware aggregation. It's basically a much smarter, probability-based way to untangle those confusing rock, paper, scissors loops and break any ties. To really get the first part, just think about the old way. An AI response gets a flat score of 4. That's it. It's simple, sure, but it hides everything. Was it a really strong 4 that was almost a 5? Or was it a weak 4, barely better than a 3? We have absolutely no idea. All that important nuance is just lost. But now, look at this. This is the TrustJudge way, and it is so much smarter. It doesn't just see a 4, it sees the probability distribution behind that score. It sees that the judge was, say, 60% sure it was a 4, but also thought there was a 30% chance it was good enough to be a 5, and maybe a 10% chance it was a 3. By capturing this whole picture, you get a much, much more precise final score. All right, so the theory sounds great, but does it actually work when the rubber meets the road? Researchers put TrustJudge through its paces, using some of today's most powerful models like Llama 3 and GPT-4o to be the judge. And the results were pretty stunning. That sports surprise problem, where scores and direct comparisons didn't match, it dropped by over 8 percentage points. That's a huge reduction in that kind of inconsistency, from over 23% down to less than 15%. And get this, the improvement on the rock-paper scissors problem was even more dramatic. Those illogical loops were practically eliminated. They dropped by almost 11 percentage points, from over 15% all the way down to a barely there 4.4%. Just look at the raw numbers here. You can see it clear as day. TrustJudge just crushes the baseline on both types of inconsistency. But, and this is really important, look at that bottom row. It also increased the raw accuracy of the judge's calls. So it's not just more consistent, it's actually more correct. That's the win-win you're looking for. The research also confirmed another really key idea behind TrustJudge. Simply using a more detailed scoring scale helps a ton. As you can see, when you move from a clunky 1 to 5-point scale to a more fine-grained 1 to 100 scale, the number of conflicts drops like a rock. More detail preserves more information, and that leads to fewer mistakes. Okay, so we've got a much better system for grading AIs, but why should you really care? Let's zoom out and connect all this back to the big picture and what it actually means for all of us. Here's the bottom line. This isn't just some academic exercise. Building better judges directly leads to building better AI, faster. Having a reliable evaluation system is absolutely crucial for making sure these powerful new tools are safe and aligned with our values. It even helps smaller, more efficient models get better, which helps level the playing field. Ultimately, it makes the whole process of developing AI more transparent and, well, more trustworthy. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This is about way more than just making better chatbots. If we can figure out how to build fair and reliable AI judges for something as nuanced and complex as human language, what's next? What other incredibly complex human jobs in science, in medicine, in art could be next for AI evaluation? And what could that unlock for humanity?